Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I am your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Extreme Studios in the Pine Hills Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I have with me tonight, as always, on Tuesdays, terrible Tuesdays, terrific Tuesdays, however you choose to think of that, RDV from the Great Midwest. Tonight, we decided once to review John Dangerously with Michael Keaton. It's the comedy that you never heard that he was in because people always think of him as Batman and other stuff. But you got Joe Piscopo, Dom DeLuise, Peter Boyle, you've got Marilu Henner, you got tons of people in here. And RDV, I want to ask you, this is not a first watch for me, but I have not watched this in literally a few decades. Is this a first watch for you?
It is a first watch for me.
Give me your initial take on it.
For being a movie that came out, it's 1984. This is the one, just like we had, Night Shift. Yep. I can understand after watching these movies why people were kind of skeptical about Michael Keaton becoming Batman because he just played a clown and everything. So him playing a serious role was kind of like a new thing, especially for Batman.
Correct.
But honestly, watching this movie, like I said, and I was talking to you before we went live, this movie is pretty much Bugs Bunny joins the mob and then runs the mob and then plays them against each other. Kind of, it just feels like a Bugs Bunny movie. Everyone in here is pretty good. Dom DeLuise was just unexpected, like he's randomly in the movie and like, okay, bye.
That was his shtick back in the day.
Yeah, like I said, so it was fun. Danny DeVito being in with Michael Keaton in the movie before Batman Returns. I didn't know that they were I did not know they were shared screen before that. So that was kind of new for first watch. Just basically people talk about the Mel Brooks, Young Frankenstein stuff of this. I think this would give Mel Brooks movies for a run for their money.
I'm going to completely disagree with you on that point, but tell us why you think that way.
Just everything here just worked perfectly. Him telling just casually say he's talking. The kid comes. He's basically running the pet store. Kid comes in and starts to smuggle the dog and stuff out. And he stops the kid and he tells the story. He's like, hey, what's with the screen? He always does this whenever I talk about flashbacks. It's just the gag. It just came off natural of him.
I agree. It comes off natural. And Michael Keaton, when I think of him, you said it correctly, the way I thought of it, stole my thought, where he just played a goof early on. I thought, no, this is the kind of role Tom Hanks is made for, yelling and screaming and being a dopey idiot. And Michael Keaton, to me, was definitely, I thought, for some reason, I felt like he had more to him. And it would be later, like Batman and stuff, that would be like, yes, this is the role you deserve or belong in. Am I right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying he does a bad job here, he does it good, but I felt like with this, the way this type of movie is, it's, how do I say this? I'm going to take a step back. I understand what you're saying because I think it's a hilarious movie. It's very funny. It's interesting because in 1984, we talk about Ghostbusters. We talk about tons of movies. 84 is an absolutely phenomenal year for movies. Great representation of what was going on in the 80s pop culture at the time with a lot of fun stuff, a little lighthearted stuff, and where you could just go have a good time, not take it too seriously. So when I say this about Mel Brooks, I'm not going to disparage Johnny Dangerously. Mel Brooks is what I would call more of a intellectual type humor, whereas this is more of like a lowbrow kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that, but for some reason, people get offended by stuff like this of the Three Stooges, right? So, I don't. It doesn't bug me at all.
This movie does not.
It flows well. It's hard to pump in a ton of comedy and gags like these guys do.
Yeah, and it flows well because it's like a river. It keeps going, and it doesn't stop, and you don't get sick of it because it's just one gag after another. And to me, it was kind of seeing fresh, kind of new stuff. It's like just the whole thing where he's talking to the kid again, and he's the price gun, and he's picked up each dog, and he's putting a price sticker on it, and he goes next one. It's like stupid humor like that, but it's fun, and the running gag with the doctor. Ever since he was little, it's like, something wrong with your mom. Okay, how much you need this time? Okay, what's wrong with her thyroid? We can't fight it. It's just the stupid stuff.
I know, it's so dumb. Look, for those of those just coming in, the gist of the movie is it's a period piece. It's in New York City, like in a turn.
Well, I thought this was Chicago.
But it's mobster movies and gangster stuff was really, really hot coming after The Godfather. It really started peaking going into the 80s with Miami Vice, this kind of stuff. So it was interesting because you still had people that would go back to, say, the 40s and be like a gumshoe and be a detective, right? You had a lot of variety of different types of shows. And so with comedy, the one thing that I can't stress enough to people coming in here is, okay, he ends up, basically working for the mob, but he basically becomes the mob, but certain people don't know. And yeah, there's a plot in there, which really doesn't matter. And it's just a simple story tell where it does full circle at the beginning. So I don't want to say too much about it other than it's a different kind of comedy than Mel Brooks. It's also a different kind of comedy that might be like dark humor, like say a Jim Carrey that's more physical or just darker in tone. And what I really, really honestly appreciate when I watched this movie earlier was that I'm a full disclosure here. This isn't necessarily my type of humor. I love Joe Piscopo. We have extra long barrels. We have penciled in mustaches. We have extreme mascara.
Sir, it's an 88 Magnum.
I know. I'm saying that's absurd, right? I more of the airplane stuff, but then you also had like John Candy and other types of humor. Yeah. But here's the point, and I'm being very serious when I say this. The fact that we can have a conversation right now about 40 years ago with this movie, that if you live the 80s like I did, or you go back and you start watching some of these, you can say to yourself, wow, there's different types of comedy movies out there. Because people go, oh yeah, they tell jokes and have fun. No, there's different types of comedy. Am I right? We don't even have that now today in films. So whether you like this kind of movie, this kind of comedy or not in this movie, or the stars or not, or you like a different type or something, at least we had it back then in the 80s. And Johnny, everyone liked Michael Keaton. I
want to point out something.
Not like anybody.
This isn't different humor than Mel Brooks. It feels kind of on par with Mel Brooks. I just like the whole setup, the story. I thought the delivery was better. I love Young Frankenstein, but I feel like this has more quick-witted humor than that. That's more dry, sarcastic.
I agree. I would agree with you on that.
Yeah. I kept thinking, like, when I'm watching this movie, like, oh, you can see, like, oh, it's kind of like Angels with Dirty Faces, him coming back into town. And I love everything. It's just so far-fetched. It's like people cringe at movies like Paint Your Wagon, and stuff like that. But this was basically the same kind of, like, slapstick humor with that. Michael Keaton has a knack just for telling these basic jokes and keeping a straight face, You can see where Angleton, your buddy Aaron, got all his jokes from. It's from this movie.
Oh yeah, he loved it, and even my brother, who's like, "Man, you gotta see this. You gotta see this. You gotta see this." And our tastes were different, and I saw it, and I said, it was hard for me to come away and go, oh, it sucked. It's stupid. It's dumb. I was like, all right, I get it. Because I knew most of the people at that time, like Joe Piscopo was super famous, Saturday Night Live. Keaton was in his own. Dom DeLuise was fortunate to be the friend of some people. God, I hate to say it, but Burt Reynolds, he showed up in his movies, and I don't find Dom DeLuise funny at all. But his shtick is he's just there. I don't get it. It's just that's it. And Marilu Henner was really.
Richard Dimitri is Roman. Fargan ice holes. And him just basically butchering the English language. I love that. They even make a joke about it the whole entire thing. His character all the way through was just fun. And here's the thing, it's the Bugs Bunny humor. No one really dies. People just basically get exploding gags, like the toilet exploded, and Peter Doyle thought he was holding his wiener, but it was actually just the pull chain. He's like, oh, thank goodness, it's still there. It's like it is just. I said Peter Boyle seeing as a younger man was great too, but we also had the guy from River's Edge in here as well, the gas station clerk.
Before River's Edge became serious, you saw him in Johnny Dangerously.
right? But you got Ray Walston popping up here as a vendor.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool seeing this. Griffin Dunne playing Tommy Kelly and stuff, and I just love when they do like the whole special effects. When they do the flashback. When him and his brother are finally gonna fight because his brother's like. Michael Keaton puts him through school, and he's like, "Oh yeah, stay in school," And then he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna be assistant DA. I'm gonna fight crime." He's like, "My own brother is against me. I put him through school. What the hell?" And then they're gonna get in a fist fight, and he gets a flash to his mother. He's like, "Take the dive, Johnny." So he takes the dive because he doesn't want to hurt his brother. But like the whole the stupid gags in here are pretty much Bugs Bunny gags when he comes over to his brother's house by Michael Keaton's place. And he's got all the women there and stuff, and he's like, Johnny, I don't got the tits for this. I mean, the whatever, because he's basically seen all the half naked girls, and then they go talk, and he's like, he pulls out a projector screen, which really did not even really that design. Everything was obviously you could tell it was 80s, like projector stuff, right? And he's about balls, blue balls, cause explode and stuff. It's like it's just stupid stuff like this. And it works. The music is great. I love time periods that place that takes movies that take place in the 1940s, 1930s. It's every year. Joe Piscopo, was great as the villain. He's Johnny. He's the Vermin. His name's pretty late is Danny Vermin. And his origins, his secret origin style, or his villain origins. Is when him and Johnny are both working as newspaper boys, and in the corner, and Johnny's like, Danny, hey, you're my spy. He's like, who about it? And then they get in a fight, and that's when Peter Boyle discovers him. Is, hey, you want to make $50? And he's like, no, I better break the law. He's like, well, I don't want to break my mother's heart, And he goes, and then he's like, goes to the doctor, and this is the best part of the movie. He runs up the stairs, 10 freaking flights, and it just feels like he's going finally, like kind of like Ghostbusters. They did that gag, same thing. After, and he finally sees it comes to the doc. He's like, it's, oh yeah, your mom. It's like, she needs a new liver, or it's like kidney. It's like what? He's like, be $50 or $49.99 on sale this week. And he goes to talk to his mom, and she's in there with his brother, who's basically studying to learn. They're like 12 or like 10, and his mom's doing the laundry. So then he finally decides to basically take the guy up and help him. They go to Maroney's place, and they basically help him rob the place. And I love about this is he's swinging around like Robin, Dick Grayson from the 40s, taking out criminals left and right like he's on the circus. And then so as he gets older, I love this because he goes back to the town. Everybody's like, "Hey, Johnny!" He's like, "No, hey, remember, I'm just Johnny Kelly. I'm not Johnny Dangerously." It's like, "Oh, we're sorry, Johnny." And Dom DeLuise just randomly pops out on the screen. He's just like, "Hey, the Pope, what's going on?" He's like, here, buy yourself a new gym in the Vatican. And he's like, so holding out. He gives a big wad. He's like, more. He's like, really? And the whole gag with that. Every time he sees the doorman outside of Peter Boyle's place, "Hey, your mom looks nice." And today he's like, he gives him his money. It's like, "Oh, she's a sweet woman." He quick tries to run in because every time the guy compliments him, he pays him money. And there's gigs like that. There's also his mom is still doing on people's laundry. He goes up in the door and just texts the laundry. He's like, "Come on, Mom, you gotta stop this." And he gets buried by the laundry. It's just gag after this, and they're not bad jokes. They're just fun.
One of the things that we like to cover as a base, I always say we're an 80s based channel because I'm the oldest guy, right? And we talk a lot of action. Yeah. And you and I have commented a lot over the years about the different types of films, the different, years. Well, whether it's nudity in them, whether there's boss girls, all that stupid shit. But one of the things that we really appreciate with physical action mostly is the Hong Kong style with the stunts. But the thing is also the shooting of it, so it looks realistic. I mean, whether it's sped up or wire work, you can have some particulars. There's a similar thing, an aspect to filming that I think matters when it comes to humor, because that people like to say a couple different things about humor, like, well, is the person funny or is it the material? You can tell the great joke, but is the joke really funny? Like, it's hey, your mama's so fat, ... There's 50 answers, right? It's who's telling it, when to tell it, the timing of it. And I agree with you 100% here. This is a movie that you get to see his natural timing with it. The thing that impressed me a lot about the movie, thinking about it, is, as I mentioned before, in the 80s, you had a lot more comedies than I think people realize.
Yes.
Is that, this is only the second movie directed by this woman named Amy Heckerling. Men and women think differently. They have a job to do as a director, how they do it. A woman directed American Psycho, Mary Herron, and that's a tremendous movie. It really took the woman's ability to capture how vain he was and make fun of it, which was part of it, despite how disgusting it is. Certainly not compared to the novel. But here, the movie that she did first, which I still say is one of the best high school movies of all time, especially capturing it then, she did Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And that to me is like, that's so good.
It makes sense because
right?
Because we just got the guy from River's Edge, and now he's in this movie too. It's like, So it said anybody can tell the same joke. If you get 30 to 40 people. And out of those 30 to 40 people, you might get one person who just takes creative liberties and does something different than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Where one or you may have 30 people read it plain Jane as the joke is, or you get that one person's like Robin Williams who just basically acts his whole entire body into that joke, or it might be the opposite. Everybody tries to be like Robin Williams, and the guy just plays it straight, deadpans it.
Right.
Like Robert Wright.
You have to have the contrast.
Yeah.
So whether it's the straight guy dealing with stuff like Leslie Nielsen does perfectly in all the airplane films and all that, if you don't have somebody that can really commit to that, you can't have somebody like Joe Piscopo that, while he's being over the top in this film with everything, he's delivering it in a straight manner.
Yeah.
And you have to be committed to it. That's not easy to do.
And honestly, I guess, bringing up, we were talking about Batman before and all about seeing him going from this being Batman. I prefer him in Night Shift and this movie over Batman. Batman looked cool, but Michael Keaton shines more in these movies. He's more charismatic, I understand he's trying the Batman's not charismatic, but you could see a little bit of him like trying to surface when he is. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts, the poker scene, the fireplace.
Yep.
But this is like, hey, he excelled more at comedy, but he also has range too. You see him in, I think it was Pacific Heights, where he plays the creepy landlord. It's like the guy had range.
You're winning me over, Michael Keaton.
My body is ready. No. But we're also talking about too. As I watch this movie, I noticed that Michael Keaton, man, and what movie's in, I thought maybe he just had really dark eyelashes, but I realized it's just him. Literally, it's him with more makeup on or eyeliner than most of the women here. It's like, I don't know what, he just has that bad like skin, I guess, what do we call it?
He's definitely not a Summer if we talk about what kind of color palette his skin is, but I think a part of that's just a function of it. And like the pencil thin mustache Piscopo has, it's like, Pixel and I are reviewing the Colombo episodes when we're alternate seasons with other shows. And I know William Shatner's an early one in the 70s, but he did one in the 90s where he's supposed to be like a Rush Limbaugh ripoff character who kills somebody. And he has this awful pencil thin painted on mustache that like shifts and, moves all over it. And I'm like, I know the continuity person had to see that. It's not a rib, but this mustache makes me think like that. Just looking at Piscopo, I'm like, damn it, you nailed it, Joe. Joe Piscopo always had a really kind of sharp intelligence behind him that felt like he couldn't unleash it until he got in a movie like this.
So here's the thing about Piscopo with his mustache. This always reminds you of Cesar Romero, Joker. Like the evil villain has the mustache.
Evil thin mustache, right?
Yes, and I still say that they should have had Cesar Romero shave his mustache off, commit to the bet, or don't do it. Because if that's the case, then Adam West can have a beard then as Batman. Honestly, this movie going through this for first watch for me, it is probably just jumped up highly on my top comedies, as far as this goes. The more I watch his older stuff, I realize more. I'm like, it's like, man, I was born in 85, but I wish I was born in 75. At least could have lived through like the best decade more. So just getting 5 years out of it. Because the movies, the music, everything, and the people were kinder back then, unless you're in New York. New York's always been a shithole.
Well, New York was always fast paced, so it's like, like in the South, we would wait for you to stop talking to somebody before asking you a question. Typically, like, excuse me, ask a question, and New York, like, what do you want? And it's not being rude; it's just getting to the point. Part of it's a population density sort of function when you get to a big city.
Well, that's more like Italians.
Well, and also culturally too, you could have movies that make fun of different classes and stuff, whereas today people get offended by it so easily. People don't want to write it. So I think you have a younger generation of people. I made this comment before, especially superhero movies.
Yep.
You have a younger generation of people writing movies, and a lot of people that are writing television are younger people that did not go back and really understand, like, say, what humor is. They think, oh, it's more of like the old sitcom bullshit thing where somebody walks in the door stays open, somebody makes a comment, says somebody else, then somebody makes a play on the words, ha ha ha, laugh track, and that's bullshit. The thing with writing something like a movie like this is, honestly, despite all the people and all the yucks we're talking about, I said before, not only is it hard to film comedy, to get the timing of it down, Amy Heckerling did a great job with that. Some things are funny and people or whatever. Maybe you don't like certain kinds of jokes, but the sheer volume of saying, okay, in this scene, you're going to come in here. The jokes are going to be the dog. It's going to be the money. It's going to be the statement, and it's going to be something in the background. Okay, how do we time all that? There's a lot of the energy that sometimes it fizzles out in movies. You see that certainly like in the scary movie type things or whatever, or any of those more like 90s kind of humor where they sort of rehash some older stuff. But to me, I agree with what Jay's saying there. He's watched this. He goes, I watched it again in my 20s, and honestly, it kind of didn't hold up, but I still love it. It's that way with me and like Fletch. I love me some Fletch. I love Animal House, right? I've watched them probably 100 times each, just always on the humor and everything. But at some point, you go like, okay, that's enough. This is a movie that if you haven't seen it and you're an 80s fan, or you're not quite sure, or maybe it's a movie that slipped and you're like, yeah, I knew it was out, I just didn't see it. Go see it. Because to be honest with you, RDV, I don't know how this were. When I had siblings and they'd come home and they would hype stuff up, I would be like anti-hype. Oh, you got to go see Johnny Dangerously. It's just so funny. I'm like, okay, what's funny about it? Well, it's just a dog and this. And I'm like, yeah, shut up. And then I wouldn't go see it. I'd go see something serious.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's like, I can understand with movies today, but back then you had a better chance of they are right. These are good movies. Where if you said like, hey, have you seen this new movie? And it's okay, I'm gonna go look at it, and like you watch it, and it's like, okay, this is basically not as funny. Like Napoleon Dynamite is one of those examples. Everybody said you have to watch it, and you know what Napoleon Dynamite is? YouTube clips worthy. That's about it. It ain't worth sitting through the whole entire movie, but people do,
Well, let me ask you this: you're a huge Ghostbusters fan. I know you are. How old were you when you first saw it, roughly?
Oh, I saw it when I was 4. Because I saw the first movie, and then then to go the new movie, the number 2 came out in 1989. So then I saw that probably like a year or 2 later when I was 7. Probably right around there. But I was watching the cartoon series,
Yeah,
that was
and
popular. It started around 86. So I was watching. Basically, that's what I was watching. Yeah, I watched a lot of those movies. Like, there's a lot of movies I watched, like James Bond. Like, I was watching when I was like in my single digits years. My dad would have it on, Sean Connery or Roger Moore in the background of VHS, and I'd be watching it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that hasn't aged for you, has it?
No. Ghostbusters I can still watch, but here's the thing about Ghostbusters, and I'm a huge fan of it. I have to wait a while because it's like, this is like a lot of movies. I watch it. I can't go back and watch it like a couple days later. The only movie I've ever done that with, actually, is 2 movies. Actually, the Batman, Christopher Reeves, or not Christopher, but Matt Reeves one. Did that? I watched that basically like this. I watched it one day, and then I watched it like later that week again. Not and I didn't watch it because somebody else wanted to watch it. No, I just watched it by myself again because I really liked the movie and I wanted to watch it again. But the other movie I can watch over and over again is The Recruit. The Recruit is actually my favorite movie. Ghostbusters is one of my favorites. But but this is a movie though. Like I said, I'll probably watch again. I'll probably find it on a physical copy on Blu-ray. But because it's done well. I said the one-liners. Everybody in here, it plays their part perfectly. It's just fantastic. The fact that it got a 6 out of 10 or whatever, like on IMDb or whatever, or 6.8 is stupid because this is actually better than half the comedies I've seen. Like people like say talk about Porky's all the time. I've watched Porky's. It was all right, but it didn't make me laugh as much as this movie did.
Agreed. Although I think they filmed that here in Florida. I think that's a Florida story.
But I mean, like like Animal House and all stuff. Like there's some funny scenes. A lot of it's disgusting. Scenes like that. But and I watch every single filthy minute of it twice. But this is a movie you can quote and just have fun with it.
Yeah, and I think there's different. Like when I say there's different types of humors, I also mean audiences because like Ghostbusters, I think it was a kids movie. But you know what? Everybody watched it. I don't recall one adult who watched it that felt offended or thought it was beneath them or stupid. They knew what the movie was trying to do. And one of the things that jumps out when you talk about comedies to me, and again, the 80s just in general, is whatever movie we're talking about or type, they knew what they were trying to accomplish. If you're like Stallone was trying to do this kind of movie, he was trying to be different than Arnold. Arnold was trying to do his own thing, and he was trying to change what he did. Comedies like this, like I mentioned, Joe Piscopo, this guy, when I watched Saturday Night Live, I'm like, that guy's got the goods. He's like that Phil Hartman guy that was on there for a long time, super talented, did a lot of stuff, extremely successful, but he doesn't jump to mind like how somebody in your face like an Eddie Murphy would, right?
Yeah.
So that's not a knock on him, because that dude was Superman. He was like glue when it comes to making a scene good or better and interesting ideas. They were just a different kind of funny.
Do you know it'd be great if they have a blooper reel behind the scenes this movie? It'd be fun to watch.
I wonder if the DVD would have that.
Maybe the 90s DVD or whatever, because I don't know what the Blu-ray, because sometimes on Blu-rays they leave out stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Remastered later usually.
Yeah. Yeah. So because when people are doing one-liners like this and stuff, there's always gonna be a blooper, somebody messing up, whatever. And I know not every company did that, with their movies, but this would be the perfect, example to have one. Is like, because how many times they flub something or somebody did something with a prop set, or because there's so many running gags in this, and someone's got to obviously flub their line. So
it's interesting, because one of the things is that when I was younger and I would watch some of these comedies, and I don't know how much you've watched of these kind of older comedies where you don't get the joke or understand it when you see like a running gag, because
when you're younger, when you go back and watch it again, it's like, oh, that's the joke, is
yeah. And I don't mean like the sexually overt stuff, okay?
No, it's like,
just the types of running gags, like in here, it's a mob story basically, right? So what do you have? You have the sultry cocktail waitress singer, that has the romantic interest, and she's always draping herself all over the piano.
The mom
and all
doing
that,
the laundry for everybody else, because that was a little bit job they had back in the day. People would do it.
Yeah, and it's as a younger guy, you're like, okay, she's on the piano. Why is she doing that on the piano? But when you're older, you're like, okay, I get that gag or whatever. Everybody wears a trench coat, and you go, oh, that's a detective. Why? Because Humphrey Bogart made it famous, right? But if you don't know that going into it, you just don't see visually their humor. So you might have to rely on the verbal stuff. And I think, honestly, a movie like this takes a fair amount of attention to really appreciate the amount of, again, to how you describe it, the different types of gags in it.
So there's only one person we didn't really talk about in this movie. And you know that is, right?
Well, there was a couple, but you tell me who you're.
Well, his little buddy would be upset if we didn't talk about the skipper being the desk sergeant.
I've always hated the skipper. I thought he was a creepy weirdo bastard, but go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, he just randomly pops up in this movie like Dom DeLuise. It's like, I love these little cameos we got in here too. I was also reading up about Marilu Henner. She's the redhead on there. All right. Yep. She has I guess like not a disease, I guess, but she has, it's called highly superior autobiographical memory, also known as hyperthymesia or thymesia. Basically, it's a syndrome, basically like a condition that leads people to be able to remember an abnormally large number of their life experiences in vivid detail. Basically, photographic memory,
Kind of. More emotional based, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I said, like, and I'm thinking, like, how is that like some people don't like it. I guess maybe it's annoying because they remember every single detail and they can't get past it. But I always thought that was kind of cool. It's like when you learn about some people that have this, because sometimes you hear about like the more common things, like an actor, like, oh, this actor has this, whatever. But it's like, that's the first time I've ever heard of anything known as that from an actor.
I've heard about it because sometimes the volume of information that you think you don't know or whatever, if you study something, you start learning it when you start applying it. So people always say you're never really a good teacher till you start trying to teach or coach or whatever. And someone like her, what happens is when you're young, and this is an interesting thing because in the 80s, we didn't talk about ADHD and all these made up things that come out. Now, it's not a knock, but things changed rapidly in the 70s as far as supposedly the amount of drugs people were on and conditions being diagnosed. And that's a whole different discussion. It really isn't movie related. But for her, there are some people that can look at stuff and just memorize lines, but they're memorizing it not because they're memorizing the lines, they're memorizing and picturing the scene of how it goes, and they can, internally visualize it. What happens is as your kid, you get these filters that basically when you're baby, you try to take everything in. And you can only take so much in, right? But then depending on how you're raised and other stuff like that, what happens is you learn when you get older that there's certain filters that you ignore and you pay attention to. Someone like her probably had something really highly developed in her brain when she was young, and it just kind of stuck with her. It sounds kind of weird. I don't know too much about it. The people that can recall memories, it's memories are emotional, and so she must have some sort of this key system that allows her to go through and do all that. Well, I remember in 1984 when I was filming this movie, it was a 3-month thing and blah blah blah. She's like, wow, she really remembers.
So I also want to point out that women, you know, they're nothing but trouble. All they want you to do is they want to laugh you when you take your shirt off, you know. it's like, so apparently I forgot, yeah, because she's from Taxi.
Yeah,
she was the hot redhead on Taxi. I said, like, so her pairing up with Michael Keaton, I thought was they had chemistry together. That was really cool. So it was actually because sometimes you get movies where like one person is supposed to be the love interest and they just don't really seem like they're a good match. Then you're like, or sometimes you get like movies where they seem like they're a good match, but then you say like, well, you know, you think about, gee, what if you would have got this person, and then you realize, oh my gosh, that would have been a much better part. It would have made the movie more pop better for you. You know,
right?
Like when we did bad casting, they actually had really good casting in this.
I agree. Yeah. And the thing too is you know, the whole romantic thing, right? Forget the sex act, right? Just a romantic thing, the chase part of it. Either they're a good fit and something comes in between them. We see this all the time in Jackie Chan films. He has a romantic interest, but they don't show romance on screen. But she gets accidentally kidnapped or abducted or whatever. Or like his girlfriend when we did the Richard Norton film recently, they're in a downtown Sydney and she gets stuck on the horses, right?
Yeah.
Or you know, you guys are complete opposites, flip sides of a coin. And then something happens that, you know, an incident that draws you two together and you realize that, you know, you love each other. So here it's always, you know, an interesting choice, but you have to know that and decide what you're going to do. If you're just writing basic stuff and don't know how to write comedy or something, it's not going to be funny, you know, which makes me want to mention, I've got one more thing about this movie, but I want to mention something recent though.
Mm-hmm.
Movie that's getting ready to come out, which is another Naked Gun. The original Zuckerberg guy in it, or Abrams, whatever, not involved. You know, he's done some comedy stuff in the 90s. I don't know what he's done recently. I haven't looked him up. But he intentionally would say, hey, this is how you construct comedy. Because if you go back and study all the comedies, like I say, there's certain kinds of it, and there's certain types of jokes, and certain people are good at certain things, right? And timing you have to have. You know, you can work on it, but usually you got to have it. So it's a combination of the person and knowing what you can do. And when I see this with Leslie Nielsen, I'm going to see the movie. We may even review it. It's the Seth Meyers kind of comedy, so it's going to be scatological, you know, kind of poop, pot, stupid stuff. Basically like Ted, which I thought was a good show, but it's cute, but it's not hysterical, not like like this movie might be, and I don't think it's going to have the sheer volume of jokes like it should. I don't know. I don't mind Liam Neeson playing the straight person, but it's not going to be the same kind of humor is my biggest concern going into it. So if I like it, I can still sit there and say, well, I still don't think it was like the original Naked Guns, because those are tremendous, different kind of humor. And the one thing too, you mentioned something at the very beginning, and this name may not mean much to you, but you said you kind of liked the music and thought, you know, it was appropriate and everything else there too. I think the theme song here is by Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah, yes, that was the thing. The opening song is Weird Al Yankovic, you know. That kind of threw me off for a loop. I was like, wait, what is this? It's like, so I mean, obviously his Weird Al was huge around this time, and this really complemented the movie, his style weirdness, because this movie was kind of weird, kind of kooky and stuff like that. So it was this, yeah, his whole song was about the big life, you know. I made it big now. It's like, so it really fit the movie.
Yep.
And going into this, I just kept thinking though, like, because they had it almost looked like a cartoon thing, almost. I'm like, oh, is this be like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation? They're gonna have like an animated thing. You know, at first,
oh yeah,
yeah. I thought I was gonna go into that first, but then and they didn't too. So I was like, oh goodness. But yeah, the just everything, the props, the scenery, you know, the cars. It's like, you know, it's like, what was it? Stealing his mother. Stealing his mother hobby or something like that. It's like, or I wish I could be stealing.
punching his grandmother.
Yeah, yeah.
That arm up.
Yeah, yeah. Every time he goes, he's
nothing like that kind of cheap violence. That gets a chuckle out of you.
Johnny, yeah. So basically, Johnny comes in. Michael Keaton, every time he comes see his mom, he's like, hey, and he pretends to hit her the left foot, and she faints. And then the second time or third time, he's like, one of these days, I'm gonna beat the shit out of that kid.
Which is what any normal, decent parent would say.
Right.
They let you in on it. Yeah, that's the thing with Weird Al is you look at him and you go, you don't take him seriously because he's a goof. But at the end of the day, the guy's made gazillions of dollars. He knows music enough, seriously, and you could say that the accordion is kind of dumb or silly, but that's kind of the point. He's being absurd by taking these songs, getting the permission of the artist to kind of work in his own way, and that's not easy to do, and you have to sell it. Imagine if you spent 2 days filming a video for Dare to Be Stupid or the theme song to this or Eat It instead of Beat It, right? I mean, at some point while you're doing it, you're gonna be like, man, this is fucking stupid. I'm tired. I want to go eat. I've been on here for 2 hours. Director doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, blah, 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 like that. Okay, you ready, Weird? 3, 2, 1, and then they have like a big, eat it kind of thing or whatever with the song. And it's just, but he was, nobody really is like that today. You had more types of comedians doing stand-up from the really graphic ones in the 60s and 70s and their acts that would clean them up, from them transitioning into television, playing the kind of sarcastic kind of guy, to people that would be like Weird Al, that in a fun time in the 80s, he could do that, and that added more fun to it. You didn't have to love him or like him, but he was popular. Why? Because he didn't take himself seriously, even though he was serious about trying to be fun with it. And that's one of the things these older movies do well, is they know what they are, and they're trying to do it solid. You don't feel like they're just going through the motions, I mean, it's a movie that, I'm probably not going to watch again for a very long time. But you know what? I've always known about it. I always thought if I needed to watch a comedy or I was in the mood to laugh, I'm reaching for older stuff because there's not much newer stuff that makes me laugh. And I'm being serious about it. Whether like newest Ghostbusters, none of that stuff makes me laugh. But I go back to that first one, that's going to make me laugh, right? If I need an action adventure to kind of reset my mindset, I might put on Indiana Jones, right? The first or third. So I don't know. I enjoy it. I encourage everybody to see it. People shit on a lot because they consider it cheap humor, not intellectual humor. But that's just people trying to be a smart ass about, reviewing stuff. If you like this kind of humor, you like Michael Keaton, you're going to love him in this film.
Yeah. This is the quotes. The years hadn't stopped in Moroni. He continued the murder of the English language and anyone who got in his way. Does Danny Berman quotes stuff is like, I got something to stop him. Like, yeah, Dutch is like his little sidekick Dutch. Yeah, they made it from special. It's an 88 Magnum. He's like, Danny's like, it shoots through schools.
That's funny. See, that's funny, right? Keaton's great. Movie doesn't work. Joe Piscopo's not awesome in here, though. Let's be honest.
I love his Danny Vernon's like, I'm handicapped. Of course I'm handicapped. I'm psychotic. It's just Danny, in other quotes, he's like, Danny's like, I like collecting protection money, putting whores to work, loan sharking. I enjoy planting bombs in people's cars. These are a few of my favorite things, I
was talking with a couple younger people who were asking about 80s stuff and all that, because the Stranger Things came up and they were asking, oh, was the vibe really like that? I'm like, I'll still die on that hill that song Running Up the Hill that was really popular in the last season, that was not like a major hit. Like, people talked about it at all. It's like, I think I heard of it. That's bullshit. That's manufactured, right? And I lived the 80s, so I'm just going to tell you that right now. That's when we were talking about River's Edge with Keanu the other night, how dark it was, and it's not fun, but it's worth watching because it's so serious, and it's one of the few films to capture it. That's great, but man, I don't ever feel the urge to want to watch that again. I like the fact that you had these different things going on in the 80s. But one of the things that I think younger people are trying to do is in their own mind, whether it's Stranger Things, they're trying to almost like, I don't know what you call it in comic books when they retcon or retrofit.
It's a retcon, yeah. Basically, whenever someone comes in and decides they don't like something else did, or they change it.
Yeah. So to me, like, people wanted to retcon comedy, thinking, "Oh, this stuff is dumb. This is stupid. Nobody would get that. It should be funny like this." Like, no. There's a type of joke. This is just what that joke looks like in this situation, whether it's exaggeration or whether it's, making fun of something pop culture wise. And honestly, the best humor is kind of what you described at the very beginning of this film when you talked about the timing of Keaton and how good the cast was. And basically, for the word I'm going to use is chemistry, because the only show that to me is on par with any really good comedies, even though it didn't always work, was the show Psych, where a lot of that stuff is ad-libbed, and it was basically a lot of pop culture references. If you didn't get the references, the jokes would not be funny, because he was an annoying little twat that just had a pretty good gift, but they put him in situations to use it, and they had stuff. So, it's just, The Office is a certain kind of humor that either you like it or you don't. Like Two and a Half Men, that's not my kind of humor. I just, that's not funny to me. It's not, or the forced laugh track stuff. But something like this that can be smart, that's got a great volume of jokes, and they're not all necessarily going to hit, but they're trying. And we did Top Secret, right? I think that was 85, right? I mean, that one was, I think, by the Airplane Guys. A lot of humor in that.
Yeah. So, the other quote I was laughing at, I was looking back up, was like, what did Johnny's on death row? He's like, it's like the Warden's like, it's an honor to have you on death row. He's like, oh, don't worry, Johnny's like, the pleasure's all mine. But there's a scene though where he basically finally does make it with Lil, and then they kiss, and as they go down, they see fireworks, and you see Peter Boyle in the office, and the other boys like, they fireworks. Oh, Johnny must be getting laid. Fireworks. And then later on the next day, she's gonna take up driving. She's driving to work, and she's like, it's dangerous. Like, I don't want you to get hurt in this. He's like, don't worry, there's not a bullet with my name on it. So as he gets out of the car, he ducks around, and he's basically like, okay, one hippopotamus, two hippopotamus, and then as he gets out, as a machine gun fire everywhere, it's like, he's like, he runs to another place, hide by another pillar, and then you see this lady in the shop, like a mannequin, and all of a sudden she's got a gun, and she starts shooting at him too. Yeah.
And the lady walking with the baby.
With the baby, like
a mini gangster in it.
Yeah, the little mini gangster. He's like, lady, he's like, get in. Like the little gangster pops up, starts trying to shoot him. They got the guy popping on the manhole cover with the machine gun, and we're just trying to, and they're missing him. And he dumps behind the sandbags and talks to the bellhop. He's like, hey, how's it going, Johnny? They're both military crawling. He's like, oh, hey, your mother's a beautiful woman. He's like, son of a bitch. He reaches his pocket, gives him the money. It's just stupid stuff like this. I love, or he's talking to his brother. He's like, his brother's like, hey, he's like, hey, why don't you go to take a vacation? He's like, what about crime? He's like, don't worry, I'll still be here when you get back.
Yeah.
It's just the one-liners, and I love this. Like when you can have someone who can just deliver the one-liners effortlessly like this. Yeah. And that it's just, and just everybody. You got the people who do the jokes, the people who bite their cheek, not the laughing, because some of these are hilarious. Mm-hmm. But overall, this is a very fantastic movie. This is one of the movies I not one of many that we've talked about here that you guys should recommend you check out. Don't have much more to say about it other than if you like Michael Keaton and you have seen Night Shift, or if you have not seen Night Shift, you need to, and you've seen this, you're in for a treat, because Night Shift is just as fun. And this is to me, this is better than Cannonball. That was a big thing. Remember Cannonball was a celebrity guest, but this is like just like you could have this could have been like a thing on SCCTV or people coming out. Yeah, it was just fun. It was just fun. Random person coming in next week. He's like, "What's up, Johnny?" It's like, "Oh, it's fun." Check it out if you haven't done so.
It's one of those 80s movies that, there's so many of them, but again, on a short list, when you want to talk about comedy or something significant, this is a movie it's definitely worth checking out. It made me pay attention to Michael Keaton a lot more. So when he got to do more stuff later on, I went, okay, I like him. Whereas early on, you give somebody a few roles, and that's why I said I always hated Tom Hanks. I always thought he was a annoying pudwhacker. I know some people love him, think he's a great guy. There's a movie or two I've liked him in. I'm going to be honest with you, but generally speaking, I just thought he's a guy that's trying to be funny, and he's not a funny guy.
I liked him in The Burbs and then Money Pit.
Well, unfortunately, we'll end up reviewing those at one point because they're not funny to me because of him. But I'm sure at some point we'll review them.
Well, you don't have to if you're just not gonna like it.
Well, I can review something and not like it at the same time, sir. But you know how many times we're going to review it? Just once.
How'd you kick in my balls? My sister did that to me once.
Just Once is also a song by James Ingram from the early 80s, ladies and gentlemen. So, but we can do 6 degrees of all this all we want. That's comedy for you in a nutshell. Close us out, RDV. Take us away. Good night, everybody.
Take us away. If you haven't done so, please hit that like button. Check out our comment section. Leave a comment there because that's something you guys are able to do. And let us know what you thought of this movie. If you have any other suggestions for other comedies you think we might like, or other just an action or even Hong Kong martial arts stuff that we have not reviewed on this channel, leave
like the erotica B movies.
Those the Shannon Tweed films, we can just do those back to back, bro. Yeah. So leave a comment, all that stuff. We will see you on Sunday.
Colombo will be back.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Yes.
Colombo, good night now.
Colombo or Pixel?
Colombo will be back.
Not Pixel. Okay. All right. Have a good night, guys.